I shop in Ward 7, and I see the great disparity between what happens in Ward 7 and other wards. I will work with my community and other board members to make sure that that disparity is decreased. I will work continuously to make sure that Ward 7 gets the very best that it can get. Thank you.
Okay, thank you all. We'll begin now with a few questions. The first one, if you've been here for any length of time, you will find it familiar, is 30-second question. A ballot initiative banning corporate political contributions has been proposed for the November ballot. First, do you generally agree and support this proposal? Second, we know that ballot initiatives passed by voters have been overturned by the council before. If you are elected, do you pledge to respect the will of the people if the proposal passes? And we'll begin the questioning with Reverend Bennett.
I completely support that ballot initiative. I agree with what I've heard before, that innate in the amount of money that is oftentimes given to candidates, it is to buy power, and that compromises them in an absolute terrible way.
Mr. Brown?
Yes, I too support this initiative. I'm very excited. One of the experiences that I gained out of the special election in 2011 was I realized how powerful the corporate dollar and donations are to just remain competitive. And so one of the things, if you're a candidate like me that's truly committed to the public service of the office, you find yourself in a scenario where you have to maintain a competitive position. And by doing so, you find yourself having to take corporate support. I look forward to leveling the playing field further, and I'm definitely going to be a part of this initiative going forward. In part two, I absolutely will respect the wishes of our voters and constituents. Thank you.
Mr. Chavis?
Well, I support the legislation in terms of where it comes from. The key thing for me is that the contributions that are banned should originate from businesses who have contracts with the government, dealings with the government. I don't know if I'm ready to say that all contributions in general from corporate entities need to be banned. But if you have a contract with the district government, yes, they should not be able to contribute to campaigns because they're biased. They've got interest in the city's business.
Ms. Douglas?
Yes, I truly support the bill, and also support the voters' initiative on this bill, because it's so important. And just as the other candidates had said earlier in the conversation, how important it is. Somebody's always getting their hands caught in the cookie jar, as you all could know and see now. So we need to be more accountable for how we balance our money and how and where we receive our money. Because a lot of times others are like me and don't have the money to be have on a shoestring budget. So we want to make sure that it's being fair across the board. Thank you. And receiving funds.
Ms. Johnson?
I support the legislation in part. I do believe that there needs to be limits and a plan for how that money is spent in terms of budget money or money that comes into constituent services. But I also understand that it does take money to run a successful campaign. And in order to do that, we do need contributions. I think there can be some stipulations there. But I also will go with the right of the people. If they have voted to disallow this, then I would go with that.
Thank you very much. One more 30-second question. Do you think green jobs should be a significant part of job creation in Ward 7? Let's start with Mr. Brown.
Absolutely. Over two of the past 3 years, I've attended the Green Jobs Conference in Pittsburgh, and then it was held here last year in the District of Columbia. Just trying to do more background research on how exactly we stimulate the green jobs growth here in the district. And I'll just tell you that in a partnership with William C. Smith, I currently have 15 returning citizens on a green jobs project. Currently working, have been since February 1st, 2011. I wholeheartedly support it.
Mr. Chavis?
Definitely. There was a recent article in the Washington Business Journal that discussed DC's reputation for having, I think we got the most LEED office space in the country. We're leading the way in the green development arena. So in order to prepare our children, our young adults for the jobs of the future, we have to look at green jobs as a viable alternative. I think we need to look at programs like Green for All in Richmond, California, that allows children in low income or impoverished areas to learn how to install solar panels, things of that nature, in order to gain those job skills and make them marketable for those types of jobs in the future. So yes, I definitely support it.
Ms. Douglas?
Yes, I do highly support this because as ANC Commissioner and also State Board of Education, green jobs are important. The Mineral Library, which community engagement that we all worked hard to get in Ward 7, I was a part of that. So that was the one thing that the parents' engagement in the community reached out to and wanted to make sure that we have green jobs for our young people, and also when the kids come to read their little books and stories. So that we made sure that that was one of the first thing that was done for the Mineral Library, and also the Parkside community as well. And that's under Mr. A. Poland, that he definitely worked with me as the ANC to make sure that was some of the things that are being developed in Ward 7. Thank you.
Ms. Johnson?
I do support the initiative of Green Jobs in Washington, D.C. One of the things we want to do is increase workforce development, and we have to diversify the types of jobs that we have, training our residents to do. We want to be able to match those residents with the skills that are needed in this coming, match our residents with the skills that are needed in order to get the jobs that will ultimately take us from unemployment to employment to where we want to go.
Bennett?
Yeah, we have to see the emerging technologies, and we have to see the emerging fields, and so we certainly want to position ourselves to support green jobs. That's absolutely wonderful that we lead the way in that regard. I'm for anything that is creating jobs that's helps people, but I am not for the kind of green jobs that grow marijuana in Ward 7.
Okay. Next question. Ward 7 has been hit hard in the foreclosure crisis. What have you done to help homeowners and neighborhoods in crisis? And what are your thoughts on linking the issue to affordable housing? 1 minute. Start with Mr. Chavis.
That is a very, very big issue in Ward 7. We have the most vacant homes in the city, and I've worked for 2 summers on behalf of senior citizens in the DC area, primarily east of the river, who were suffering from this very same problem. People who own their homes for 30 and 40 years and were unable to meet the cost of rising property taxes, things of that nature. I think we got to look at our property taxes. I think we need to freeze property tax rates for people who own their homes for a certain number of years, whether it's 5 or 10, and protect the individuals in DC who have invested so much in DC. And that's one thing that I'm going to propose my first week in office.
Ms. Douglas?
Well, as a former board member of Marshall Heights Community Development, I've been working also an ANC commissioner, and I've been working with the community, Family Strength and Collaborative. We're already in the process. We're setting up to help foreclosures for families in Ward 7, not only Ward 7, but across the nation capital, because that's so important. And I think President Obama, which we are connected with grants and things, to make sure that first home buyers and those that are losing their homes, that some grants and things are in place so they will not lose their houses, and making sure that the money is available for them to keep their homes. And also homes for the homeless, we're talking about that. That's so important. So that's why a lot of homeless members are out here now that's seeking, because City Council has not done their share. And I want to make sure the City Council do that share, that it's successful in making sure all people are not homeless.
Ms. Johnson?
One of the things I believe we need to do in order to ensure that foreclosure rates do not continue to rise is making sure that our workers, our residents are actually working. Also making sure that we do have funds available to help families in distress so that they can save their homes. Taking some of the money from the Housing Protection Trust Fund, allocating those funds to those persons who are most needy, the people who are actually contributing to the tax base. And then for those residents who are older, who can no longer afford the taxes, to actually put those provisions in place so that they will not have to pay taxes I agree with Mr. Chavis, if they've owned their home a certain length of time, or if they are over a certain age. Thank you.
Bennett?
Yeah, most foreclosures are tied to the fact that we're in a crisis with jobs. People need jobs, jobs, jobs. And so we've got to do things that are going to impact that. So I propose creating an economic development czar in Ward 7, whose mission is going to be to bring jobs, new jobs, and job creation for the residents of our ward, as well as those things that can, in fact, create more jobs. We could have jobs if we would just not amend the first source law 6 more times, but actually enforce the law. And enforce as well the Section 3 law, which has to do with housing, HUD housing that is built. If we would do what we need to do to enforce much of the laws, we would be able to hire our people. I stand on hire here first.
Mr. Brown?
Yes, I believe part of the question was, what have you done? And this speaks again to my capacity already demonstrated in engagement. One of the things that I've done in my own community in River Terrace, and we'll continue to fight to have River Terrace slated as a community school, because it's a hub for all of our political and social gathering in our community, which will help maintain the value. If that building goes vacant, it hurts the value of all of us in River Terrace in my community. I've worked very closely over the past year in the planning, as part of the planning grant with DC, with the Promised Neighborhood Initiative in Kenilworth Parkside, which Ms. Dorothy Douglas was also a part of that. And so getting engaged and actually having capacity, 30 seconds will allow me to really run down